I'm Eric. I am in the completions department here at ITA. We do a lot of one-on-one work with individuals who might be experiencing barriers in their apprenticeship. So that could be something like maybe a learning challenge or exam anxiety or even English as a second language. We also do a lot of work reaching out to apprentices and trade workers who haven't maybe contacted us in a while or haven't done training or hours in a little bit, and just seeing what's going on with them and seeing if we can assist them in completing any way possible. I'm very grateful that we have an opportunity here to interview you, Sparrow. The regional reps like yourself are trailblazers for tradeswomen in BC. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate being asked to do this.
Yeah, for sure.
So my name is Sparrow Taranov. I'm here in Prince Rupert, North Coast Natako region, hoping to represent women that want to do what I'm doing.
What's something that you love about your career and your trade? What's something
what I really love? Well, I love the money. No question about that. Wonderful having a paycheck. And, you know, we get paid good wages in trades for doing what we're doing. We do hard work, but we get good wages. And as a woman, I'm also a mother. I've done a lot of jobs where you don't get good wages, but you still work hard. So I love that. I love feeling capable. I love being able to say, yeah, I can do that. And well, bragging rights. There's a whole lot to be able to say, yeah, I'm a millwright. Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely a complex trade. So that definitely makes sense for sure. Going through your apprenticeship and like getting involved in your career and everything, just going through it to up until now or even now, what are some of the barriers that maybe you've experienced as a woman in the trades?
Well, there are definitely quite a few barriers. When I first got my apprenticeship, I was told that I should turn it down, that I should let a man take that position because it would be something that would be too hard for me or I wouldn't be capable. And where this expectation came from, I don't know, but it's not real. It's just in people's heads. Women really can. We're excellent multitaskers. We're very detail oriented. We're capable. Honestly, it's all in our head. So the biggest barrier, I think, to me was getting over that in my head, saying I couldn't do something, but I can. The more women that get into trades, the more people realize we're an asset and we're capable, and the barriers just cease to be. They kind of melt away.
A woman thinking about going into the trades or just starting out, what are some tips that you would want to give them, or what's something you would like to say to a future tradeswoman?
You can do it. You will face some adversity, but if you believe in yourself, you can do it. You can do anything you want to do in your life. If you want to be a mother and be a tradeswoman, you can do that. You may be a small woman. That's okay. You've got a brain that is capable of figuring out how to work around your size.
Really solid advice. Thank you very much for taking the time to A, volunteer to be a regional rep, and B, to have this interview with me and everything. So thank you, Sparrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you for doing what you're doing, by the way. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that video about the Regional Rep Program. The Regional Rep Program is a partnership between BCCWITT and the ITA. And I encourage any tradeswomen who are interested to get a hold of BCCWITT to find out more about the program. It's a fantastic program. Our next session explores best practices for the recruitment, advancement, and retention of women and other underrepresented individuals in the skilled trades industry from the experience and perspective of women from the trades. As we move forward and make changes to the industry to make it more equitable, it is tradeswomen and equity-seeking people's voices that should always be centered. Karen, a Red Seal joiner and cabinet maker, and a career coordinator at the BC Centre for Women in the Trades, will be moderating this session. We're hoping to leave time for the panel to answer a few questions at the end, so please put your questions in the Q&A in the Whova app, which people are really using. We have over 1,600 messages, which is fantastic. If someone has already asked the question you want, then vote for that question to raise its priority in the queue. Also, don't forget that you get points for engagements to win prizes. Our sponsors have given us a few fantastic prizes, including an iPad, and the IOUE has given us $500 gift cards for new trades gear. So don't forget to get those points up. If you're just joining us, please note that you can access the closed captioning on your desktop. Click on the CC or live transcript button on the Zoom menu to the right of the chat button. In the mobile app, click the More button on the control menu. The font size can be adjusted by going to Setting in your Zoom app and choosing Accessibility at the bottom. Over to you, Karen.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning. My name is Karen. My pronouns are in flux, but for the purpose of this conference, we'll go with she, her. I would like to start by saying thank you to the Sunamo First Nations of the Coast Salish people, on whose unceded lands I reside, for being stewards of this land and who remain committed to their ancestral heritage despite the effects of colonization on their culture and way of life. I myself am technically a first-generation Canadian on my mother's side, as she was born in what was then the colony of Newfoundland, which didn't officially become a part of Canada until midnight, March 31st, 1949. This marks my 25th year as a Red Seal joiner and my 42nd in the trades. I started in the trades in 1979 making waterbeds. I was the first woman in Canada to write the interprovincial exam for the benchwork joinery, and I have the dubious distinction of being the first woman to fail it. This is also my first year as a careers coordinator for the BC Centre for Women in the Trades, where I have the privilege of helping women get into the trades and on many occasions am a catalyst for them staying in the trades. I'm grateful to facilitate this panel, Best Practices for Recruitment and Retention, from a trades perspective, how and why diversity in the trades needs union, employer, and training institute support. Now, to continue on the theme of the firsts, this is, like Lisa said, the first panel of the first BCCWITT conference. And I'm honored to have with me on this panel some of the few women that you will meet throughout this conference who have achieved some first of their own. I'll let them introduce themselves, and I will start with Angie.
Wei Hung Wei, Ren Esquest Sawas Ui, Nuhwena Sawakmek Uchken, Tehum Kuka, Tehum Kamlupa, Teh Sawakmek Ul, Ren Tumel, Quiquil, Desquila, and Snake. Hello, my name is Angeline Camille. I am a Red Seal journeyman electrician, and I work with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Union Workers, Local 993 here in Kamloops, BC. I am currently working in the Membership Development Department as one of the union's organizer. I am the first Indigenous Relations representative for my union, and I have been just appointed as IBEW's First District Women's Committee representative for all of Canada. I have been in the electrical trade for over 20 years, but I have been with my union for 15 years, and I am an industrial electrician. Cook's Gem, thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you. Chelsea.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chelsea Barron. I'm a member of the Chilcotin First Nation. I began my trades journey back in 2013, where I took the Machinist Foundation program at BCIT, which was put on by Access Trades, who assist Indigenous people in career training. So I'm very thankful for them. I then worked my way through my apprenticeship and achieved my red seal when I was 23. I continued working from there. I pushed myself out of my comfort zone and advocated for women and Indigenous peoples and minorities in the trades, which ultimately led me down my current path in education as the first full-time female machinist instructor within the School of Energy at BCIT. Thank you so much for having me on this panel today.
Thank you, Chelsea. Awesome. Marianne, please.
Hi there, my name is Marianne Boccott. I am the owner of Westcom Plumbing and Gas Limited out in Souk, BC, serving the southern Vancouver Island. I've been in the trades for 17 years. Eventually got a job as a roofing laborer. It was the only job in construction that I could find, so I nabbed it up as quickly as I could. Years kind of went on and did that for about 4 or 5 years, and I eventually got offered a plumbing apprenticeship, which now I've done ever since. And I guess I opened my company in 2015, and we have been soaring ever since. Won many awards, and really proud to be a female owner of a local plumbing and gas company.
Thank you, Marianne, and you should be, for sure. Nicole, I'll give you the floor now for your introduction, please.
Hello, my name is Nicole Wiet. I would first like to acknowledge that I'm joining you from the unceded land of the Bowcott First Nation here in New Westminster. I started my career a little bit different. I did many years at university, and then my dad had mentioned something about the elevator trade. I did a abrupt turn, and that's where I went. So I followed my grandfather and father into the elevator trade. I've now been working in the International Union of Elevator Constructors Union for over 10 years. I've worked as a foreperson running jobs, as well as an adjuster, taking the jobs all the way through inspection with the Technical Safety BC. I'm just finishing up serving my second term as an executive board member, the first woman in our local to do that. And I've helped from that position facilitate going from 0.2% women in the local union here working in the trade to over 1%, with a lot more women coming up, hopefully. I, a number of years ago, worked with Lisa Langdevin, Marianne Boccott, as well as a few other women to start the BC Tradeswomen's Society. And from that, we were able to start the BC Centre for Women in the Trades. Thank you.
Thank you all. You shared some amazing firsts with us that you are. Angie, you're the first Indigenous Relations. Awesome. Chelsea, first instructor. And Marianne, you started the BC Tradeswomen's Society with a group of other women. That's a first. And then Nicole, your second term in your union. These are all amazing firsts for women. And so you have all obviously been in the trades for a while and plan, I hope, to stay in the trades for a while. So what I want to talk about today is, we're here to talk about some of the best practices for recruitment and retention for women in the trades, and how and why diversity in the trade needs employer, union, and training institution support. So I'd like to just invite you all to answer that question as in the same way that we went for the introduction. Feel free, take your time, answer the question as thorough if you want. And if we need to flesh it out at the end, we'll come back. But Angie, if you could share with us your views about what the best retention would be for women in the trades. And
For best recruitment, I have been going out to the Women in Trades training and the Aboriginal Women in Trades training programs, where I've gone there and did some talks with them. And I have also gone over a number of career fairs, off and on reserves, to talk in my electrical trades booth, my union's booth. And what I found is just going out and being honest and telling them my story on what it was like to be an Indigenous woman coming into a trade of all non-natives, and having the hurdles to go through. And I found if you're honest about it, these women who are up and coming behind you are prepared and ready for these hurdles, and they know how to conquer these hurdles. So I believe just speaking the truth about how to conquer these hurdles help these women who are coming in the near future here.
yeah, very good points. Very good points. Honesty and upfrontness, transparency, you know, I think is always the best there, and they can see and ask questions, right?
Yes.
So thank you for that, Angie. And so we'll just carry on the theme here for just touch briefly on recruitment. So yeah, Chelsea, do you want to share some of your thoughts for best practices of what recruitment would be?
Yeah, sure. In regards to recruitment and retention, you know, being a front-facing woman in the trades as an instructor, I think is a huge benefit for retention in particular. Women and others in the trades can see, you know, a female instructor leading the way and passing down knowledge and, you know, being a mentor for them. This can really offer a welcoming feeling, and women can see that there are, you know, opportunities for them. And also men can see a woman in an instructing position, which will kind of set the tone for change and also help normalize these positions that are held by women.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big step in the machining industry in particular, which is mostly all men. You know, being the first female instructor within the machine shop at BCIT, like it's huge. It's also an honor. They have welcomed me with open arms. So, you know, this is something I'm really, really passionate about, and I will continue to do my part to make sure the female students feel welcome and, you know, feel heard, and always be there as a support and a mentor for them. And, you know, after sharing stories with other women in the trades, there was a common theme where we all experienced some type of hardship and discrimination. And, you know, it really breaks my heart a little bit hearing what other women have been through. Nobody should have to wake up hearing, you know, going into work, heading into work and feeling, you know, ridiculed or have their worth questioned. Some viewers here may have heard some of these stories, but I know everyone at some point has felt that way in their lives, and it's not a good feeling, and it really wears on you mentally. So there needs to be a point where we don't keep telling people to be strong and, you know, to be resilient. You know, we need your support and we need allies. And as I've gotten to know some of these women over time, the thought that the industry is, you know, overlooking some of the most hardworking, dedicated, down-to-earth women I've ever met makes me realize that there's still a lot of work that can be done. So if I could leave our listeners here with one thought before I finish up, that would be to try and switch the way that you look at having a woman on your team. Maybe not so much about what you have to do for her, you know, such as supplying a safe place to change or proper PPE, but more in a sense of what will she bring to you? Like, I really believe that we are stronger when we are diverse. You know, we have different outlooks, backgrounds, ideas, and that's what makes a strong industry. So we're stronger when we're united. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate everyone here. So thanks for listening.
Thanks, Chelsea. Thank you. Yeah, some good best practices there for sure. And so, Marianne, could you share with us, please, some of your thoughts on best practices and retention?
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, getting a career in the construction industry was not exactly an easy task 17 years ago. It was not accepted at the time. There was a lot of people that told me it wasn't a good idea. There was a lot of bullying, but a lot of persistence, perseverance, and a whole lot of pestering got me my first job. And like I said, it was in roofing originally, and that was the only job that I could get in construction after sending out about 100 resumes. And I guess over the years, I eventually got into plumbing, long story short, but I've worked with some amazing men, but I haven't worked with any women until, the last few years when I started my own company. I always wondered where all the ladies were at, and especially where all the lady bosses at in construction. I really didn't have a mentor or another woman to relate to or to talk to about, the things that were going on, or, just really anything that we could relate to as females. So I'm really ecstatic to see the increase and the acceptance of women in trades within the last 5 to 10 years. And as years progressed, I eventually decided to open my own company and become an unexpected to see owner of a plumbing and gas fitting company. So my business blossomed, and through, word of mouth and fantastic staff and reputation, I built the business to what it is today. But there have been roadblocks, and there are roadblocks. I received many entry-level applications, but hardly any Red Seal plumbers or certified gas fitters. No one really with experience to propel my business forward in the manner that my dreams see. One day I was talking to a former employee of mine, male as well, after telling me how grateful he was to have me as a previous employer. He also told me that I applied at a company, and when they read that I had worked for a woman and your company, they laughed and said that that's embarrassing, and that he shouldn't put that on his resume. So now imagine hearing that as a woman employer trying to build a business in a male-dominated industry that has worked in the building trades likely longer than that said person has been in the trades. I realized that I couldn't grow my company to what I want because I'm limited to that less than 5% workforce. So that's when it hit me that it's the stigma of working for a woman, being taught by a woman in a male-dominated industry. It's not the wage, the benefits, it's not the job, but the gender. So the more women we have in the roles of teachers, business owners, and Red Seal journey people in leadership roles over our male counterparts, the more normal it will become and less of a stigma. So the best practice from this would be to have a woman in front-facing positions of leadership and educational roles. So the first thing you would see is a woman teacher, or a woman union president, or a woman business owner. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you. And well summed up there too. Nice little package. Nicole, can you share your thoughts on this topic, please?
Yes, of course. When it comes to bringing in more women into the trades, we need to make sure we're asking where the women are, right? Quite often the language of the ads that we see are not gender neutral. They'll use journeyman, they'll talk about strength, and those are things that may lead to women not to consider applying to them. We need to make sure that these resumes that we're making it so as many women as possible we're bringing in their resumes. Also make sure we're going to areas where women are working, right? Bringing them up from maybe jobs that are more entry level and giving them an opportunity to have a career, a union career or a construction career that'll give them more benefits and a higher wage. Also, once women are hired in regards to retention, you need to make sure they have allies in the workplace. They need to have mentors. When I started out my career, I was all by myself for the most part. I did have my dad around. I was fortunate there, but I was the only woman. Almost every job site I walked onto was all men. There were no clean women's washrooms. On that note, the men's washrooms were also disgusting. They deserve washrooms as well.
Mhm.
But there was no allies. It was so hard at some of those points to keep going with the constant bullying and microaggressions that we have day to day on the job site sometimes. I was fortunate to start working with a gentleman who was, he had a daughter my age. He was in no way politically correct, very grumpy. And at first I was like, how is this gonna work out for me? But he ended up being my biggest ally. I didn't have to be in the room for him to speak up and defend me. He would not let the bosses treat me differently. He made sure I had equal opportunity to all the men apprentices, which made a difference. He took me under his wing and he taught me everything he knew. And he was the reason I got to the point I am today in the trade, where I get to be a leader and I get to bring more women up to my level. But it was that ally, that mentorship, and that's something that women need. We have created now we have these Facebook groups, we have the BC Center for Women in the Trades. We have these groups where we can help women find mentors in their trades or in other trades so that we can help bring them up and let them know that they're not alone. But at that same point, it can't all be coming from us. We also need our unions and our companies to make sure they have the correct and safe work policies in place to make the work environment a safe place. The safer it is for women, the better it is for everyone. It diversifies the workforce, and a diversified workforce is a better workforce. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, well said. And I apologize. I realized I wasn't muted. If you heard me go in the background, I was just impassionately agreeing with Nicole there. So thanks, Nicole. What I do want to do is I just want to loop back to Angie, because I realized that in the beginning, I just asked her to answer the question about recruitment, and I didn't give you the opportunity to answer the question about retention. So can you give me your perspective on that, please?
From my experiences as Indigenous woman working in a crew of all males, when I started on one job out of 500 electricians, I was the only Indigenous woman working on tools. On the same job out of 12,000 tradespeople working, there was only 2 of us Indigenous women on tools, and the other one was a welder. She was a certified welder, and she had it really tough. She made it only 3 weeks. So after 3 weeks, I became the only Indigenous woman on that job. So I did have to overcome a lot of hurdles and a lot of racism and virtually abuse on the job. What I would like to see out there is more training and understanding on women's needs out there by, a lot more men to stand up for us, because we're not always in the room with them. When I wasn't allowed to have my lunch with them, I had to eat my lunch outside because it just was more easier on me eat outside. So I'd like to see on job sites, I like to see a lot more understanding women on the job site, not only the bathroom and that, but a lot of us have children. So I'd like to see better daycares and schooling and help for the women who do look after their children. And it's not just women who look after their own children or becoming single parents. More and more nowadays, men are becoming single parents, and they need help too with care and for their children. And a lot of times we have to be on the job site by 6:30, and a lot of daycares don't open till 8:30. So I'd like to see more help for that out there. And I totally understand what it's like to have no good bathroom for women on the job site. And I don't even know how the men use their bathrooms. I mean, it's just totally disgusting. I asked them, are they like that at home? Do their wives accept that? You know, anyways, for retaining women, yeah, I'd like to see more care out there. In our union, we've have our women's committee, which have been going for our union for almost 3 to 4 years now. And because I'm part of that committee, I personally call each one of our women in our union and talk to them and ask them how they're doing on the job site. Sometimes it just takes that, just one person to call and say, how are you doing out there? Is everything okay? Do you need help? And a lot of women, you know, they don't say anything, but some women, they say, hey, I have a problem with this. And then I go into my own experiences and how I got through that. And, you know, sometimes it's really hard to stand up to men, especially when you're the only one standing there. But if you don't, it'll just keep happening. So yeah, retaining our women on the job site and bringing more women on. If we can be stronger out there, even if in non-union jobs, like in a non-union job, I literally had a boss come at me with a hammer because I wasn't moving fast enough for him, but I was moving the same speed as my co-workers. But as a woman, I was supposed to move faster. So, you know, out there, we just need more training. And our union, we promote to be a bystander, and from the BC Federation Union, and we have been putting that forward, and it's been working. Some men do stand up. More and more men are standing up for us now, better than 20 years ago when I started in the trades. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Angie. Yeah, it's true. More and more are standing up, and you know, we've heard today that some of the best practices are we want mentorship or peer support. We want more women out there, more women front facing. We want more women in leadership positions, and we need more allies. And I know that, you know, some of the things that BCCWITT is doing is actually all of those things, in a sense, is that, you know, we've partnered with the ITA to do something called the regional rep training, where we're training women in leadership positions in all of the regions across BC. So we're setting up that front-facing leadership, and more women are getting into teaching roles. And we talk about allies. And again, we have BCCWITT is honored to partner with the ITA and the Ending Violence Association, the BC Lions, for the Be More Than a Bystander program, which I'm sure we're going to hear more about later today. But for now, what I'd like to do is open up the floor to some questions. And we have our very first question today it's a good one, as they all will be, I'm sure. But on International Women's Day, what's the most important message you can send to young women thinking about their careers? Nicole, how would you like to answer that one?
Thank you, Karen. I'd say the most important thing is that you can do it. I didn't come into the trades with a lot of background. I had studied criminology. I'd worked as a waitress. I had worked as a grocery clerk. I was painting houses at the time when I got the phone call from my union saying they had somewhere for me to go work. But I studied. I looked online and studied electrical books because they applied a little bit to my trade. I asked 1,000 questions. I probably drove my first mechanic crazy. He actually came in after like the second week of work and gave me a glossary of elevator terms book and went, here, this'll help. But that was the biggest thing. Like, you can do it. It takes perseverance, but you can do it. We're just as likely to be able to do the trades as men are. And it's such a fulfilling, amazing career. I love my job. I make great money. I'm always learning. It's always going to be changing, so I'll never get bored. In my trade, I can do construction, I can do service, I can do maintenance. And you can also move from the tools into other positions. You can become a supervisor, an educator, a union leader. There's all these different options. It's this amazing variety of work just from starting in the trades. And I suggest it. I love it. I can't imagine doing anything else. At this point in my career, I wouldn't want to do anything else but be an elevator mechanic.
That's fun. Thank you, Nicole. Yes, nothing else but an elevator mechanics. I was reminiscent as you were talking that, like for me, being a cabinet maker all those years, like who doesn't want to stand behind a table saw and get sawdust in their face and in their hair? I mean, and sand for 5 days straight. These are the exciting things that draw us into the trades, but not always the things that keep us there. So, Chelsea, one of the things that I would like to ask you is that, it's an amazing accomplishment to have your red seal at 23 and then be an instructor at 28. In terms of the conversation, have you come up with any barriers, people asking you about that? And how do you handle that conversation?
Yeah, during my trades path, I knew from the very beginning I wanted to do something, big with my life. And I knew like trades would be a really good fit. And I just honestly just kept on working hard. And no matter what barrier I came up against, whether it was, people at work, feeling some sort of discrimination or, having self-doubts about myself. And I kind of just had to rise above that. And I really, really started to grow and overcome these barriers once I started to push myself out of my comfort zone, where I knew that learning was going to be uncomfortable and putting myself out there was going to be uncomfortable. And, being vulnerable is uncomfortable, but that's the only way we grow. And as I started to, gain more self-confidence, which I believe that I got from the trades, being in a skilled trade, learning, constantly growing is what kind of gave me my confidence overall, and eventually led me down to the path of being an instructor. And, it's not easy. I got my red seal when I was 23, and then now I'm an instructor. Now I'm only 26. I'm a young woman in the trades, and now I'm in a position where, I'm often teaching other people who are the same age as me, maybe even a bit older or younger. And you have to be able to adapt and overcome those barriers between, different characters, different types of people. But I strongly feel that, if I have a message or something to say to any of the women out there to, any advice for their careers, whether it's in the trades or just in life in general, is, I've said it before, I'll say it again, is don't let other people's perceptions of what you can and cannot do get in the way of you pursuing what you want to do with your life, whether it's, your dream job or a hobby you want to take up. Just, sky's the limit. You have to work hard and really put yourself out there and dedicate yourself to lifelong learning and continue to grow as a person. And there's really no limit of what you can achieve.
Yeah, thank you. I love that phrase, dedicated to lifelong learning. Yeah. And there's always those, another vision is course correction. You think about a plane flying, a plane never flies in a straight line. It's always a series of course corrections and course corrections. And I think that we have that opportunity to do that as we build this path to, equity in the workforce for women. And so, Marianne, I'd like to ask you a question, please. Do you think as an employer that it would benefit the employer to have the grants incentives for the women, or to other areas? Can you flesh that out for me, please?
Yeah, I think it's important to have, incentives for employers for really any entry. It doesn't matter women or men. I think entry-level positions can be, you get a lot of, or at least I get a lot of resumes from entry-level positions, like I kind of mentioned earlier. And though I want to hire everybody that comes along my way to give them a chance, you know, obviously as business standpoint, it's not exactly, you just can't do it. You know, I probably have in the last, you know, couple of weeks have had 3 resumes from females, and I just want to hire all of them. But realistically, I can't, because you have to pay everybody, you know, what they're worth for one, and then you don't want to pay somebody minimum wage as well. So if there are grants or scholarships or some sort of, you know, incentive, then, you know, I think that it would make it a little bit more inviting and make it a little easier for employers to hire somebody with no experience or little experience. So I'm definitely pro grants for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I agree with you there. I spent, you know, the majority of my career as self-employed, and that's always beneficial to have a grant for training, for sure. And Angie, I would like to ask you this next question, please. What are some of the cultural barriers to entry that we are seeing for women entering the trades, and how do we overcome these?
For me, a lot of my cultural barrier was that I come from a traditional family where we do have certain things we're allowed to do and certain things we're not allowed to do. And trying to get the workers around me to understand that was a lot difficult. Even just because I was born and raised on a reserve, and where I was, I'm a second generation to the residential school survivors. My mom's being the first, who she endured the worst that residential schools dished out. And for me, I've had to grow up with those survivors, okay? So at that time, coming off a reserve, being told you know you're nothing and there's nothing you can do in life. There's no way you're going to finish school. The only choice you have is to have a bunch of kids and live off of welfare. And that's been the mentality for 4 generations generations. So getting women or getting past not only having children, but being allowed to go out there and get a career for yourself and showing your children there's more than just welfare. And that stigma being, this is the only life you're going to have. I don't have children myself because I come from a big family who's got lots of kids. So I figured there was no point in me having children, but I've looked after a lot of children in my life, and I still do. So I find that being out there and showing that this is not our only place in life is going out there and being allowed to go to school past grade 8 and going to a trade school and going to university. Like now we're allowed to go to school past grade 8. Before, in my mom's lifetime, she was only allowed to go to school up until the age of 14. And then at 15, your choices were to start having children, to get married, or go to work. You weren't, going to school was not a part of her choice. So it took her many years down the road to fight that law and to allow Indigenous people to go to school further than just grade 8. And I took that opportunity to go into a trades course, which was the Aboriginal trades training at the time. And out of that course, somehow electrical just came up for me. It was one of the most difficult courses I could possibly imagine taking. Trades was, did I lock up? Okay. So yeah, some of the barriers was, you know, getting past being told you're never going to be amount to anything. And as an Indigenous woman, when I go out there and I do talks on reserves, I tell them there is life past reserves. Before we weren't allowed off a reserve. We had to ask a non-native, can we go off reserve just to go shopping? Can we go off reserve to get educated? Now there's life out there. The world is round, and you can run west for for 100 days, and you know what? You can still come back, and home is right here. The world is round. We've, you know, it's been discovered. It's round. You can come back home. Home will always be here. And a lot of times, as Indigenous people, it is hard to leave your reserve, the comforts of home, and take that chance and go out there and find yourself, whether it's in trades or it's in academics. You can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor, you can be anything you want to be nowadays. And it took a lot of women like my mom to fight for that right, for us to be able to leave the reserve and be something. Thank you.
Wow, that's a whole nother dimension to add in there, Angie, is that you have to actually leave your home in order to accomplish your trade or get your trade met. And thank you for sharing that piece. You know, we've talked about, you know, we talked about allies, like I said, and also there's the peer-to-peer support. And, you know, I neglected to mention earlier that that's one of the things that BCCWITT has built on, the BC Centre for Women in the Trades, is that whole peer support. And I remember coming out of the trades, I had spent, you know, the majority of my career, like a lot of you, isolated and alone, and my head was down like that. And I was just kind of building a tunnel, basically, of just myself in there. And then, you know, I lifted my head up one day, and there's this BCCWITT Facebook group with over 1,500 other women in there. And it was like you know, for lack of a better description, it was like the popcorn went off in my belly. I was so excited and so fired up, you know, that I just, you know, like Nicole, you had mentioned in our talks that you just wanted to go out and change the world after that. And I think that, you know, that's one of the most empowering experiences that I've experienced as a woman in the trades. You know, like, yeah, I've built dream kitchens for people, but there was nothing more powerful for me than to walking into a room with 1,500 like-minded women. And so, you know, like, the success of that was incredible, and that it was opened up by the BC Tradeswomen's Society and all those things. And so what I would like to know is from each of you individually is, what is one of your greatest success that you feel that you have a tradeswoman? And, you know, what is that kind of thing that set you apart, and knowing that there was no way you could be anything but a tradesperson? Do you have that moment? Is that something that you can share with us in there? Anybody feel burning? I'm going to go in reverse alphabetical order today for this one. And this is, you know, kind of like wave your magic wand here too, is in your wrap up here is, what's your vision of the future, as well as your biggest success, and what's your vision of the future for others? Nicole.
Thank you, Karen. I would say, like, I love in one way that I was the first woman foreperson in the elevator trade here in BC, maybe Western Canada. I don't think there's a lot of us doing that. I'm the first adjuster, first woman on my e-board, but at the same time, I don't want to be the first. I want to be following other women that are taking the reins and leading the companies, and leading the unions, and leading the job sites. It does get a little exhausting, constantly pushing this boulder up, and we need more. We need more women. We need more allies, because we don't also want to burn out, right? we want to keep this momentum going. We have this amazing momentum with the BC Tradesman Society, BC Center for Women in the Trades, build together all our allies, all our coordinators. Like there's these leaders in all these communities around BC, and we have all this momentum. We got to keep it going because it is so amazing and we all deserve to be here. And as a final note, I know that my union and my trade is turning the corner because now my union brothers call me and they're like, hey, I have a friend, I think she'd be awesome for the trade. Can you help facilitate her into entering into the union? That right there, those phone calls, those let me know that like, I think we're getting there. We're almost there. Thanks.
Oops, find the unmute. Thanks, Nicole. Yeah, we're almost getting there. Yeah, thanks for that. Marianne, some thoughts on that subject.
Repeat the question, please.
No. You know, what was your, you know, that moment in your trades, in your trade career that you knew there was no going back for you?
Honestly, well, I started roofing at $12.50 an hour, and I was previously supervising a pizza place for $11.50 doing bar rush shifts. And then within a month, I was making 17. So I felt pretty rich at the time, but that's no, that's not really why I stayed in construction. It's been really rewarding the whole time that I've been in this industry. You know, being able to build things, I've always been really hands-on. You know, right now as a business owner, I do spend a lot of time behind the computer. I am on the tools a lot as well, but you know, I'm really glad that I'm on the tools still a lot because definitely being behind the computer is not my jam. So being able to build stuff and create things has really been what's kept me in this job, especially with plumbing because, you know, we do a lot of mechanical stuff. I hear all the time about, you know, oh, you know, it must be so gross plunging toilets and all that stuff. It's like, I don't do that. I'm sorry. But yes, there is that part of plumbing, but there's so many different avenues that I know I'm going to be a little bit off topic here, but I think it's really important to not judge a job by its stereotype because it you know, I've had this conversation so many times like, oh, you know, poop runs downhill, don't eat the corners of your sandwiches and paydays on Fridays. Oh, shut up. You know, we work with copper, we build things, we make it look really good, you know, and you see a lot of work out there that people didn't take pride in, and it just makes you strive for more, you know, for your work, especially as a woman, you know, that you're constantly having to prove yourself, showing that you can do a really good job, you can do a better job. You know, growing up with an older brother and you know, male cousin, you know, I always had to make sure that whatever I was doing, it was better than them. So maybe that's how I ended up in the trades. I don't know. But yeah, so I think that realistically, what's kept me around is the fact that I constantly get to think and use my hands and build things. And I just think it's a pretty awesome job.
Oops, don't eat the corner of your sandwiches. I once ate a cookie laced in lacquer thinner, but I don't advise it, and it was quite by accident. So yeah, we have a couple more minutes here, and I want to for Chelsea and Angie to have a chance to wave their magic wand and talk about their glowing moment that they knew that they were in the trades to stay.
Yeah, I'll pick up from here. I think overall, just what trades has brought into my life, you know, I feel like I finally found my place and my people I really connect with and get along with. You know, in that sense, I knew, you know, everything was just falling into place where, you know, I was where I was meant to be, sort of. I got that sense of feeling, especially meeting all these awesome tradeswomen, you know, getting to know them, making new friends and new connections. You know, I'm just really passionate about what I do, and the fact that, you know, my life has led me down this new path, and now I get to basically pass down all the knowledge and things I've learned over the years as an instructor to the next, I guess, generation of tradespeople, and, support those women and the youth that are coming into, the machining trade, as well as all students. I feel like I've really found my spot, my place in life. And once I realized I got a sense of peace from all this, I knew that was the moment where, like I said, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm just very, very excited to keep meeting new people and making these connections and, fighting the good fight to kind of bring equality and, diversity, inclusion, and really push for that. And and just be there and be a good mentor and support system for other minorities, such as Indigenous peoples and women in the trades. It's something I'm very, very passionate about, and I'm going to be dedicating my life to it. So that's where I stand right now.
Thank you, Chelsea. Angie.
When I first started in my trade, when I first joined the pre-electrical course, I ran and I went and saw my grandmother, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to be an electrician." She goes to me, "Okay, you're going to run into a lot of hurdles. And there's one thing I want you to remember." And I said, "Yeah, what's that?" She goes, "I want you to remember to always respect yourself, respect the job, respect the people you're working with. Even when they're acting like a horse's ass, you have to respect them because they were there before you. This is their world, and you're stepping into their world, and you're going to be by yourself." And a lot of times I did. Oh man, for example, on my first job out there, I had one man tell me, he goes, "I'm going to tell you two things about you." And I go, "Oh yeah, great. I'm there for the experience." He goes, "I'm going to say women don't belong in trades. They only belong in the kitchen or the bedroom, and that's all they're good for." And I said, "Wow, okay." And then he goes to me and he goes, "I don't think you Indians are smart enough for this trade." And I said, "Wow, you know what, buddy, you better hope that this Indian woman is smart enough for my trade, because I'm also the first aider on this job, and you look like you're 1 foot in the grave, and I'm here to save you. So I might forget if you push your luck," right? So, being in this trade as long as I have, I really learned how to try to politely stand up for myself and for some of the other workers who couldn't stand up for themselves. And, my big aha moment was when I had one man, he's passed on now, old Frank Townsend. He said to me, he goes, or he said in our tool crib meetings in the mornings, he said, "I think I want Angie on my crew. I will trade 3 of my guys for Angie." And I was like, "Wow, okay." And he goes, and I said, "Well, how come?" "Because you're women, you're good at organizing, you know how to do your job, and I don't have to stand there and babysit you. And when you do a job, you can do it, I can leave you and you can do it by yourself. Where it takes at least 2 or 3 men to do the job I'm asking you to do." And I was like, "Wow, thank you." That was my moment that I knew, wow, I think I belong here. And as it progressed, and I was asked to come and be one of the officers in our union and work in the membership development department, and becoming the first Indigenous relations representative for our union was a really big step for me. I didn't know what it took, but just being in this, accepted in the union as one of theirs is a really, really honorable place for me. And 2 years ago, I was allowed to go to Toronto and become one of the speakers for the women's committee, IBW Women's Representative Committee out there, and told my story. And when I told my story, this one woman from the US, she was Black, and she came up to me, gave me a hug and said, wow, you are an incredible speaker. I was on the moment of quitting my job because of the abuse she took. But listening to your story, and yeah, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep fighting. And that's what we got to keep doing, is we got to keep fighting for our place in trades. No matter where we stand, we still have to fight for our jobs, for our place, for the women who are coming up behind us. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Angie. Yes, very well said. And that's a part of the peer-to-peer mentorship and support, is that we fight for each other and that we're there for each other. And like we said earlier, that's what our allies do for us. And they're doing more and more and more for us. And we're grateful for that. And I am again grateful for this first panel on the first BCCWITT conference. And as Lisa said earlier, it's not the last. Look forward to you guys all enjoying such a great conference. Thanks for spending your time with us. And I'm going to pass it over to Lisa now to handle the next part of the conference. Gratitude. Thank you all. Thank you, panelists.
Thank you, Karen. And thank you to all of the panelists. Wow, what a great way to start the conference. 5 amazing tradeswomen with such powerful stories and insights on the barriers facing women in the trades. It struck me actually, as you were all speaking, when I first started doing advocacy for women in trades, there was only a handful of female instructors, only one tradeswoman working for a union, and really the number of female leaders for women in trades were few and far between. Now we have so many leaders in BC for women in trades that choosing speakers honestly was challenging. Kudos to all of the women who continue to step up as volunteers and as leaders. I'd also like to point out we have great engagement on the Whova app. Well done. I encourage people to use the Whova app for chats and Q&As rather than the Zoom app, please. And thank you again to Karen, and thank you to all the panelists for your hard work to pave the path for future generations. We really appreciate you taking the time out to spend with us today. Thank you. It's break time again, because as we know, this virtual thing tends to be quite exhausting, and we need a few tech timeouts to prepare for the next session. The next session is best practices for recruitment and retention from the industry perspective. So take a few minutes to stretch, move your body, close your eyes, grab a coffee, network with other participants, pop into the sponsor and exhibitor booths to meet our great sponsors and exhibitors, or engage on one of the community boards to gain points to win the engagement prizes. We are going to meet back here at 10:45 for our next session. See you then.